From the sea of holes, it's the IGN Digigods. Please welcome two guys who don't look bluish. It's Wade Major and Mark Kaiser.
That's right, we don't look bluish. Mark.
Yes, sir.
Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Tragedy, complete tragedy. And I work at an entertainment cable company, and people around the halls were talking about how he was in recovery.
Yeah.
And he left rehab too soon.
Yeah.
And it's a tragedy. It's senseless. And I tell you, they found like 70 bags of heroin in the apartment he was in.
It's unreal how much heroin they found.
I mean, nobody has fallen off a wagon harder than he did.
It rivals Belushi and all the other corpulent injectors. Chris Farley. I mean, it really does rival that. It's just unbelievable.
Well, also, when you look at the type of actor he was, you can see him having the kind of personality who would just want to bury himself in altered states. Because really, he was so good that that's what he would do.
Yeah.
He really buried himself in the altered state of whatever character he was playing. And you can see how maybe he wanted to do that in his regular life.
I get so tired of the excuse, though, that goes back, centuries. I mean, it goes to Conan Doyle and to Edgar Allan Poe, that somehow the artistic impulse is, one that needs to be sometimes medicated and sated through, mind-altering substances. And it's just, there's no reason why we need to lose these people. He didn't need to be a junkie to be a great actor.
And he didn't want to be a junkie, by the way. Because he was clean and a great actor.
Yeah. It's just awful. And
it's a shame.
It's upsetting.
But,
it is upsetting.
But here's the thing, though. I mean, do we dare recommend a Philip Seymour Hoffman movie?
We can recommend movies. Go ahead. We were talking before the show about this. So by all means, let it fly.
Well, obviously, he's done amazing work on screen, and I've seen him on Broadway, and he's unbelievable. But I have to say that the one movie that I went to YouTube, because I don't have the Blu-ray, because the movie as a whole is actually not that good.
Yeah.
But the one movie I thought of when he died that I wanted to see the two key scenes he was in is Charlie Wilson's War. Mike Nichols' Charlie Wilson's War. Mm-hmm. Now, the movie does not come together as a whole. It has an amazing start, gets off to a great start, and then dies a slow 90-minute death.
True.
But in the first half hour, he's got two scenes. And actually, I was with you in the screening room, and you could not stop laughing.
That's true.
He's got two scenes that are absolutely the most hilarious, priceless pieces of acting you will ever see. And when he died, I don't know why, I was compelled to go to YouTube and look up those two scenes.
I agree I did the same thing. That first scene in Charlie Wilson's War, where he goes on his tirade about having to learn Finnish, and that's just. And
then the way Tom Hanks was in his office, and he kept getting interrupted. And then Philip Seymour Hoffman, he knows he's got to leave the room. Now, you just go, and get up and leave. And then you come back, and you go, got it. And you get up and leave again.
No, his instincts. I mean, I put him among the top 10 character actors of all time. I do. I mean, right up there with Lon Chaney and Daniel Day-Lewis and
Paul Dooley,
Dustin Hoffman. And I mean, there's a compendium. There's a kind of a pantheon, is the better word. There's a pantheon of great character actors, and he's right in there. Definitely among the top 10 of all time. And it's Charles Lawton would have been another one.
He's also pretty young to have that accomplished a body of work.
He made 50 films in 20 years.
Yeah.
50 films in 20 years. I mean, it's extraordinary. I also, when I first noticed him, of course, was Boogie Nights. Boogie Nights is when I think a lot of people were like, that guy has real chops. Because he took a relatively minor character in that movie, and especially in the scene, he's a guy who's just kind of very shy, and he's gay, and he's got this latent attraction to Mark Wahlberg's character. That scene where he's sitting in the car and he's going stupid, 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 and he's pounding his head on the steering wheel. That's like the most jarring moment, because in just a character that is thinly sketched in the movie, you suddenly empathize with to an enormous degree, all because of the performance. It's extraordinary. It's just breathtaking.
I agree. So I would say, and Happiness. Remember Happiness?
Oh, jeez. Oh my gosh, that's so disturbing. Deeply, deeply disturbing.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
He was great, and there's a lot of great movies that are going to be made in the future that without him, that would have been better with him. But
The Master was really quite a. I mean, obviously, it's not the last film that we will see of his. He had a couple of films at Sundance, but look, Hunger Games. He didn't finish. They're obviously going to have to do something there to make sure that that's adjusted. And
he's got a week left. He had a week left.
But they were also casting a film that he was going to direct.
Right, I know.
And now that's not going to happen. I mean, it's.
And I saw the one he did direct, Jack Goes Boating. I saw a screening of that, and he was there doing a Q&A afterwards.
He's got chops. He had chops. It's tried, and it's why my feelings are mixed on this, because I find myself really at odds. It's very difficult for me to sympathize with the addictive personalities anymore. It really is. I mean, he was supposed to pick up his kids at school. He left 3 kids without a father. He left movie fans hanging. He left work partners hanging, investors hanging.
But that's how strong addiction is.
I know.
Addiction is that strong that you will leave your kids at school. That's how evil it is.
Who in this day and age, actually knowing what we know, thinks that they're going to stick a needle in their arm and it's going to be just like, well, I think I'll try it. I mean, heroin, once you try it, you're a junkie. That's it. First time, done. Your life is over. There's no turning around. It's not a thing that, well, I'll try it once or twice. No, it just isn't that kind of a drug.
But we don't know, at least I don't know, when he started using and what state of mind he was in when he started using. What crowd he was running with when he started using.
I would have thought that the death of Jimi Hendrix would have knocked some sense into an entire, 100 years worth of generations. But apparently not. Apparently not.
No, there'll always be criminals. There'll always be junkies. There'll always be alcoholics.
Dreadful tragedy. Well, you know what? Let's get burning on the DVD front. A lot of great Philip Seymour Hoffman performances out there, and he a relatively minor part in the Big Lebowski.
That's right.
He was so young there. He was so young in that film, and he just shines. He just shines. You look at that guy and you go, it's a nothing part, but he's turned it into something special.
Actually, here's a nothing part he turned into something special. I have 3 words for you. Along Came Polly.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. He's the best thing about that movie. A movie with Ben Stiller and Jennifer Aniston, which is just turgid in every single facet of its being. I mean, it's just not funny. Ben Stiller's not funny. Jennifer Aniston is not funny. He every time he walks on screen, he owns that movie. That's the only reason I've kept that on DVD, is for 2 scenes of his where he comes in a tuxedo and he slips and he does the pratfall, and then where they're playing basketball. I mean, that basketball scene, raining, bam, and he can't make a decent shot to save his life. That is just brilliant.
No,
it's just best. Genius.
He was out there.
I'm just so saddened. I feel so gypped, and it's just wrong. Well, anyway, let me roll really quickly through a series of titles recently from Megahertz Networks.
The optimal words there being really quickly.
Yes. Well, we're going to do this. Megahertz Networks, of course, they bring a lot of amazing European television, mostly detective television from non-English language speaking countries, and it's a real discovery. I had no idea there was so much great stuff being done in other countries. This is a cop show from Australian television, by the way. It's called East West 101. Got 2 sets of it right here. Seasons 2 and 3 and on one set, and then season 1 on the other. And it is it's pretty gritty and it's pretty gnarly, and definitely worth watching. It's about a guy named Zayn Malik, who is a major crime squad detective in Sydney, and the whole angle here is that he's a Muslim, right? It's more daring than anything that we have done. Post 9/11, a guy in a Western country who's a Muslim and a detective. That's really fascinating stuff. It's the kind of thing I would have hoped that they'd do on television with somebody like Tony Shalhoub, but no, he had to go and be, the guy with OCD.
Actually, there's a very famous episode of the show, and I saw the promo. You know what it said?
Yeah.
In order to catch a terrorist, he must become a terrorist.
Yes, thanks very much.
Right, anyway. Here we go. There's a million of these things. Go.
Moving. So anyway, East West 101, really fine show. We've talked about Borgen before.
In order to catch a rapist, he must become a rapist.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, worst running joke on this show. What is that? That's from a Magnum thing, isn't it?
No. Adam Carolla does this hilarious run. Should I do the run or not?
But it's based on a Magnum thing. He was mocking Magnum, wasn't he?
I don't remember that part.
It was a Magnum
it's
PI
so
mockery.
funny because Corolla.
Yeah, well, anyway, the Danish series Borgen, which we've talked about before, it's a intense political thing. It's a little bit like House of Cards, although I think probably better than House of Cards, to be honest. Not necessarily better than the British, but I think it's better than the American one. Anyway, the people who did the original The Killing, this is the third season in Borgen. We've talked about that before. Third season, just as good as the previis.
To catch a burglar, he must become a rapist.
And from French television, Dolmen. Dolmen takes place in Brittany. And it is Dolmen is a bit of a peculiar show. I'm not sure that I'm a huge fan of it, but it's a little kind of Twin Peaksy. At least it aspires to be a little Twin Peaksy. It's got kind of a strange Celtic mystery angle to it, a little bit supernatural, a little X-Filesy. Not exactly my kind of show. I think the French do better when they don't try to stretch so much. But anyway, that's Dolmen. You can go check that out. If that suits your fancy. We've also got Sebastian Bergman. Sebastian Bergman is also it's an okay show. Swedish actor Rolf Lassgård is really, really good in it. He's a veteran actor that you've probably never seen before because all he's ever really done is television. But he also played Wallander in the original Wallander series.
Really?
You ever saw that? I think Wallander is better, but Sebastian Bergman in the Cursed One, worth it for his performance. The Half-Brother is based on a Norwegian mystery novel, and it's a rather expansive family saga. But it's a little drawn out, but I would say worth watching if you're familiar with the novel, which I was not, so I felt a little bit off of the off kilter with that one. Real quickly, Maigret, the original Maigret. This is a fantastic set, number 9. Some of the just great mystery stuff in Maigret. Forget about the English language Maigret. The original French language Maigret is just first rate, absolutely great. 6 DVDs for set 9, and some of the best French language mystery you will ever see. Let's see, Spiral. A couple spirals here. This is Spiral Season 1 and Spiral Season 2, 4 discs in each one. Spiral is was originally released in France as a series called, oh boy, I'm even going to struggle with my French to pronounce this. Engrenage. There you go. Anyway, it's a Parisian cop thing, a little bit like Law and Order. It's very, very gritty. It's been a huge hit all over the world, and I think the acting is just absolutely first rate. The writing, not quite so first rate. The last 2 things here is Volume 1 of Blood on the Docks. Blood on the Docks is based on these novels by Graham Hurley. You ever heard of Graham Hurley?
That's Mr. and Mrs. Hurley's kid.
Exactly. Apparently, I'm supposed to know who Graham Hurley was. Anyway, this takes place in France, in Le Havre, and it reminded me. It's very kind of French connection-y. So I got into the mood a little bit. Didn't watch all the episodes, but it seemed to be decent enough. And then the last one here that I want to make mention of is the Detective Montalbano series. Huge series. They sent us just a ton of episodes, and it's about 24, 25 episodes worth, and I've been trying to work my way through them. And you know what? It grows on you. It grows on you a little bit slowly. It kind of gets moving. It takes a while to sort of get accustomed to the characters and the setup and all of that stuff. But the nuances of it as a detective show, not bad. Pretty good. So, give it, if you get into Detective Montalbano, I'd say give it a little bit of time. Give it like 4 or 5 episodes to really kind of let it work on you. It's Italian, of course, if you didn't figure that out. And Italian television sometimes doesn't really spark immediately, but it's well acted. Luca Zingaretti plays the lead. And I guess these are based also on books by an author by the name of Andrea Camilleri. I tried to find the books. Apparently they are not translated into English. So Detective Montalbano you will have to discover in Italian. And that's it for the Megahertz Network's releases the last couple of months. Definitely go and check out their website, which is at shop.mhznetworks.org. Really, really great stuff. They've found an incredible niche to kind of unearth all this great foreign, primarily non-English language, with the exception of a few things from the UK and Australia, but a lot of really great stuff that they've done. So I think it's a cool business model. Megahertz Networks, really like those guys.
Wade, you devoted like half the show to Megahertz Networks.
Yeah, well, you know what? We didn't. There was a lot released in December that we didn't get to. So, Mark, it is February.
It is.
It is Black History Month.
Sure is.
Which means that we now are going to be treated to a lot of DVDs about Black history and a lot of really kind of inane, insufferable DVDs about black romantic comedies and. See,
that's the lame part. The lame part is not the Black history stuff because that's always fascinating. But the lame stuff is a lot of this African American targeted stuff, which is just. It's actually, you know what? I'm going to go on a limb here. It's kind of insulting.
Yeah.
There's really no reason why this stuff shouldn't be great, just like anything else would be great. I don't know why. Stuff like She's Still Not Our Sister. I mean, I know it's Jack A. and everyone loves Jack A. and whatnot, and it's all about the Walker sisters, and they're all living together in one house. But it's just so inane.
It feels like Tyler Perry opened up a hornet's nest that he wishes he probably could close off again. You know what? Morris Chestnut used to be the go-to guy to star in all of these.
I know.
I haven't seen him in a long time.
Like Boys in the Hood, right?
Morris Chestnut was in everything.
And then what? Nothing.
Yeah, and then nothing. And they all have these titles like you know what she wants, and he ain't all that, and it's just come on, seriously, just don't be so patronizing. The Divorce is another one of them. The Divorce isn't terrible, but it's only not terrible because Tatiana Ali is in it, and she's very appealing, and Dawn Lewis is in it, and she's very appealing. But all of these things seem to be the brainchild of people I've never heard of. This is otherwise known as Don B. Welch's The Divorce. It's like Tyler Perry spawned a whole classic people who think that they can have the possessory title now. I mean, who's Don B. Welch? Do you have any idea?
That's Mr. and Mrs. Welch's kid.
Exactly. All right. Well, anyway.
Now, this one is called Home Again, and this actually wasn't that bad because it's got a twist.
Oh.
It's a drama,
okay.
But it's about these this trio of strangers, and they all get deported back to their native Jamaica.
Oh, of course.
And so they have to kind of survive on the streets of Jamaica, and they're one's from Toronto and a couple from America, and there's a British team. And so it's kind of interesting how they're sort of going back to their roots in Jamaica and how they try to survive on those mean streets. So there's definitely something in Home Again. I don't know if that's all that great. It's definitely like a little too exciting for its own good, like less character, like maybe more character, less exciting would have been a little bit more resonant. But still, if you got to rent one of these movies that aren't very good, Home Again would be a one to consider.
Well, there are a couple here that are one is a little better than average. The Last Letter is okay. It's not terrible. Again, Tatiana Ali shows up in this. She's in all of them. But some otherwise really good actors in this. Omari Hardwick's a good actor. Richard T. Jones, good actor. Lynn Whitfield, of course, is an outstanding actor. So they kind of put the film on their backs and carry it along. It is otherwise a kind of mediocre psychological thriller. About a couple who have whose marriage isn't quite as stable as it could be, and Lynn Whitfield is a little bit psycho as like a Norman Bates mom kind of character, but not that well written, but again decently acted, and if you can kind of put the deal with the acting and just focus on that, then also there's a couple of plays that were originally shown on the Up Network, which I guess stands for Uplifting.
Yes,
is that correct? Yes. There's a couple of those that are on a double feature, and they are filmed stage plays. They're not like staged stage plays, but anyway, one is To Love and to Cherish. The other is In Sickness and in Health, and these are about the travails of being a black yuppie and relationships and career and all that stuff. A bluppy, and it's all right.
Two documentaries that are actually well worth it. Forget all these scripted stuff. We have A Pride and Perseverance, the story of the Negro Leagues. The story of the Negro Leagues never stops being fascinating. It's a great story, and these guys get into it with all the story of the players from the Grays and the Monarchs and all those great old characters like Satchel Paige. And they run through all of them. And some of the stuff you might have seen in Ken Burns' baseball documentary, but still, if you don't want to watch all that, you can definitely check out Pride and Perseverance, narrated by Dave Winfield, formerly of the Yankees and the Padres. So there you go. Really good stuff. Done by Major League Baseball. So they have a wealth of archival material that nobody else has in order to get this thing looking great. So Pride and Perseverance, definitely good stuff. And then from the History Channel, we have, not definitive, but still kind of interesting, African American Leaders Past and Present. This is a look at the life and career of Frederick Douglass, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Thurgood Marshall, and Barack Obama. So it's pretty good. Again, more comprehensive stuff is out there, but these are feature-length films, feature-length documentaries. It's over 4 hours of stuff, all about Frederick Douglass, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Thurgood Marshall, and President Obama. So there you go. Check those two out. Those are good.
I got a couple here that I can. One I can sort of recommend. Danny Glover in From Above. Danny Glover's just become kind of a joke over the years. He's sort of really lost his luster. But this one's not bad. It's kind of schmaltzy. Who's the guy that writes all the schmaltzy romance things?
Oh, Nicholas Sparks.
Nicholas Sparks. It's very Nicholas Sparksy. But still, Danny Glover is fine, and it's a kind of a black and Native American romance thing, and some decent supporting actors, and then Danny Glover comes on to kind of show everybody how it's done. Tantoo Cardinal is she's okay. She never became that thing that everybody expected her to. Tantoo Cardinal was supposed to be sort of this new. She was like all the rage for a moment. Everybody thought she was going to be this hot young actress, and she's kind of become a straight-to-video actress. But anyway. And then there's also this thing called Mr. and Pete, as long as we're on cross-cultural stories. A little black kid, a little Korean kid, and both from the projects. And Jennifer Hudson plays the little black kid's mom. She's a junkie, and she's a mess. And, it's about how they have to survive without getting picked up by the social services. They got to be on their own, these two little kids, lean on each other. It's terribly stereotypical. The actual full title of the film is The Inevitable Defeat of Mr. and Pete, but you're going to find it everywhere as just Mr. and Pete. And that's even the way that they do the title on the box, because they realize that The Inevitable Defeat of is just one of those big mouthfuls of a title. So if you're looking for this alphabetically anywhere, you will not find it in the I section. You'll find it in the M section. Jennifer Hudson's very, very good. What really bugs me about this, Anthony Mackie, isn't he going to be like an Avenger now? Didn't Anthony Mackie
he plays Black Falcon, I think.
There you go. That's it. Anthony Mackie. Long overdue. Great actor. Terrific actor. He plays like the kingpin, drug kingpin guy.
The drug pin?
The drug pin.
What?
He plays the drug pin. In the projects in the film, and he's very menacing. But I don't know how he got away with this. He basically uses James Harden's look. James Harden, the NBA player, outstanding player. Remember, he used to be with Oklahoma City. Now he's with Houston. James Harden, big old beard, right? He's got
that guy I know.
Mohawk.
He has a beard,
and like a big old kind of Osama bin Laden beard, right? Well, like Anthony Mackie has the mohawk and the beard. Does he not realize that James Harden is like has about 80 pounds on him and will just beat him to a pulp for making fun of him in this movie?
I don't think he really cares that much.
He probably doesn't.
Lastly, right? Wait on the
yes.
Black History Month. We have this is the best of the lot. This is from PBS, The African Americans: Many Rivers to Cross.
It's really good.
Really good. This is great stuff. This seems like 4 hours. And it charts 5 centuries of African American history, starting with the slave trade in Africa, all the way up to the amazing guy, having a black president.
Yeah.
Who would have thought that 500 years ago, they're just illiterate slaves being carted from Africa, just with the greatest indignity in the history of mankind, next to the Holocaust, and yet now in 2014, black president.
And, I've often pointed this out to people. Anyone who lives overseas in other countries, that it's interesting to me, having lived in France, that so many people overseas, even, whatever, certainly the Germans were more excited about Obama initially than they are now. A lot of these guys. But what's interesting to me is how his election was celebrated by a lot of European countries who, to this day, would not elect anyone who wasn't white. Can you imagine a Turk being elected as the Prime Minister of Germany, or an Arab or an Algerian being elected as the President of France? Wouldn't happen. A Pakistani being elected as the Prime Minister of England? Wouldn't happen.
Well, don't forget, too, is that the world...
would not happen.
But the world still looks at America as being the big dog.
Exactly.
And if the big dog does it, somehow it validates the idea.
True.
Maybe it'll trickle down.
True.
So I would highly recommend, as would Wade, The African Americans, Many Rivers to Cross.
Absolutely.
Yay!
I highly, highly recommend it.
Yay!
And then, you know what, Mark? We should talk for a moment about Blue Jasmine. because Cate Blanchett is looking like she is the odds-on favorite to win Best Actress. Unless this whole nonsense really kind of blows up again. And I hate to even touch on this, but we really have to if we're going to talk about the film. If you have followed the news, unless you've been living in a cave in Argentina, you realize that the 20-year-old allegations of sexual abuse by Woody Allen against his adopted daughter, Dylan Farrow, have resurfaced. And this all resurfaced when they had the career tribute at the Golden Globes, and Ronan Farrow, formerly Satchel, his adopted son, his natural son, we thought, until Mia Farrow started claiming that Frank Sinatra fathered him.
That'd be awesome.
He and Mia Farrow started tweeting all this negative stuff, and then next thing you know, the allegations are all over and open again. And then the guy who made Robert Weedy, who made the documentary about Woody Allen for PBS, he wrote a thing for the Daily Beast saying, look, Woody's not defending himself, I got to straighten this out. Big old long elaboration about the lie detector tests and the expert witnesses, and they found him not guilty, and Mia had probably coached her, etc., etc. And then, just a day or two ago, Dylan comes forth with an open letter through...
Well, it was in the New York Times.
In the New York Times, but to a columnist in the New York Times.
Yeah, it wasn't Seymour Hersh. It was
the other guy.
He's a New Yorker. That's the other
basically detailing all elaborately what happened she gave her a train set and sexually molested her. And oh my gosh, now we're airing this stuff in public all over again, 20 years after the fact. And the thing is, she called out everyone who had collaborated with Woody Allen for not condemning him, including Cate Blanchett, who was, approached at a recent awards show. And she just said, look, it's a tragedy. I hope everybody can move beyond it. And at a certain point, my feeling is, you know what? This was buried by the officials 20 years ago. Okay? It was, done, over. And if there's anything left to be done, take care of it in private, people. It's a horrible tragedy, but I don't need to be made a party to this.
Well, there's still people who don't forgive Roman Polanski,
True.
And there are people who don't forgive Woody Allen.
But the other thing about Woody Allen, Roman Polanski was guilty. Woody was never found guilty, and he denies it to this day. And I believe, as we're speaking, he was going to be issuing an actual response to this finally, which he hasn't.
He issued something. Leslie Dart, his publicist, issued something brief yesterday.
Yeah.
But
he is going to come out with a more elaborate statement himself. The thing is, look, Blue Jasmine is a movie that stands on its own. I don't care. Roman Polanski made a brilliant film in The Pianist. Did he? Whatever his past is, it's irrelevant to me. I like the movie Powder, even though what's his face who directed it?
That's right. He was
as a convicted child molester. I'm sorry. I can judge the person and their work individually, and it's really unfair to drag Cate Blanchett into this. That being said, I think Blue Jasmine is one of Woody's most interesting and compelling films in years, because it's the first film where that Upper East Side set that he usually makes the benign subject of a lot of sort of joking and mockery, in the wake of the financial collapse, he now seems to look at them very differently. And it's a much more acerbic eye, and this film has a lot more edge to it. And I was really surprised at just how edgy it really was.
I agree. He lives in a bubble that I thought he would never escape. It wasn't only an Upper East Side bubble. It was this time bubble where he would do films literally as recently as 3 years ago where people would try to find dates in the personal ads in the newspaper. In 2010, he's making he's never heard of JDate or the internet. I mean, he's so in his not only financial bubble but his time bubble. Yeah. But now he's finally with Blue Jasmine. He's escaped that, and he's got a lot to say about it, and he's angry over it. Yeah. And I like that. It kind of got him a little bit out of his. You felt like he was motivated by something. He was driven to write this story.
Two interesting points. The Academy Award nominees in the acting categories. Every single nominee in all the male categories is in a film that's also nominated for Best Picture. All the nominees in the female categories are also Best Picture nominees, except for 4. There are 2 from August Osage County, Julia Roberts and Meryl Streep, who both can get nominated just for, staring at a camera. Take the lens cap off, even leave it on, they'll get nominated. And Blue Jasmine has the other 2, which is Cate Blanchett and Sally Hawkins. And I'm so happy for Sally Hawkins.
I know, but that's nice surprise. Nice surprise.
And they need it. They play sisters, right? And it's great. And considering that one is English and one is Australian, and they nail a certain American archetype. Alec Baldwin, how good is he in this? It's just that sleazeball.
Yeah, that wasn't my favorite role of his. He's fine.
That would have been that's a part that would have been played 30 years ago by what's his name, the guy from Annie Hall.
Tony Roberts.
Tony Roberts, right?
That's
right.
Blah. So I hope Kate wins Best Actress.
I do
A, because
too.
she deserves it. B, because it would mean that the whole Woody Allen, Dylan Farrow thing didn't really sway the vote.
Yeah.
And also because we have to kind of give Kate an actual award, because when she won for The Aviator, it was like, come on.
I know. It's true. It was an impression of it's true. That was almost like Kate Hepburn's 5th Oscar.
I know. But you know what it is? It's almost like they gave her that because she's like, it's some tie to old Hollywood.
Yeah.
But also that was the Academy's way of saying, you're in the club now. We like you.
Yeah. Katharine Hepburn not only won 4 Oscars of her own, but she inspired an Oscar for somebody who played her.
I know, it's terrible. She won 4.5 Oscars. Dallas Buyers Club is on Blu-ray. This is a Blu-ray, DVD, and digital ultraviolet copy. Matthew McConaughey was also up for an Oscar. This movie is terrific, and I think the reason why it's funny because I think the reason why this movie is resonating is because the character's not likable. The guy's a total homophobe. They don't sugarcoat that.
No.
He's a rough guy. He doesn't like gays. The end.
And if there, I once thought that Bruce Dern had the edge on winning Best Actor, but I got to tell you, there does seem to be a surge for Matthew McConaughey.
Unless it's a 12 Years a Slave run.
Yeah, I don't see Chiwetel winning that. It doesn't feel like they're going to give it to him.
They might give it to Matthew to say, we're glad you're back.
And we're amazed that after all those horrible romantic comedies, you're losing weight, you're losing your muscle mass. You put the one thing that you were so proud of that you were always flaunting on screen, that amazingly chiseled body, you sacrificed it for a role. There is something to be said for that.
Yeah, but they love that stuff. Whatever. Like De Niro gained 60 pounds or whatever.
Yeah.
Thank God Christian Bale did not get nominated for The Machinist. For The Machinist, he lost weight. But for American Hustle, he gained weight.
But see, he and Matthew McConaughey, I still say they both should have been nominated for Reign of Fire.
You and I are the only ones who love that movie.
No, Tim loves it.
Really?
Yeah, oh yeah.
I love
Tim and I saw that together. We just sat there. We were just like, that movie rocks. It's dudes slaying dragons, man. Rock on.
All right, so we have that. So that's recommended. Fast and Furious 6. You know what's funny about these movies is that even though they're
another
terrible,
unnecessary death.
I know. Well, Paul Walker, that's a whole other situation. But I have to say, surprisingly, even though I don't like these movies, they do sort of know what they are.
Yeah.
They don't really take themselves that seriously. They kind of understand that they're a little bit stupid, and you could always really respect a franchise like this that knows its place and can wink at its place. So, Fast and Furious 6. This is an extended edition, which just means more swearing and more driving. And it's a Blu-ray, DVD, and digital HD ultraviolet copy. It's a great-looking transfer, I'll tell you that much. And there's a bunch of Blu-ray exclusives on here, as well as regular features, additional features that you'll see on the regular DVD. Deleted scenes and a making of and whatnot. So Fast and Furious 6, I wouldn't watch it again, but why not?
About Time is a film that unfortunately got no traction, and I think it's too bad. Is it Richard Curtis's best film? Not by a long shot.
It's just got a weird premise that just seems so pulled out of his butt.
It does, kind of. I mean, Richard, the whole idea of a family where the men can travel back in time, and this guy, in order to get his relationship right, he keeps, going back and back in time and doing the thing right over. It's a little gimmicky. Richard Curtis isn't a guy who really should be dabbling in genre. Frankly, it's not his strong suit. I wish he'd sort of stick with the Love Actuallys and the Four Weddings and the Funerals. But that being said, I found it totally charming. I mean, the acting is lovely and there's wonderful dialogue, and it just has a sweetness to it. And I don't care if it doesn't really work. I just thought it was fine. Deleted scenes, bloopers, some featurettes on here, music video. It's perfectly enjoyable. The Blu-ray has some exclusives. A little thing all about time travel and, some of the locations in the films and, a little background on Richard Curtis. And I thought it was just I enjoyed it. It's at least worth a rental.
Really?
Absolutely. And then Mother of George is a movie that was, for a moment, on a lot of people's minds for awards. This is from Oscilloscope. I gotta say, I'm not really on board with this movie. It's directed by Andrew Dosunmu, who's an African immigrant who is a talented filmmaker, but his movies are almost too beautiful. They just have this, there's a sheen to the photography where I'm very aware of his lens selections all the time. It's like, well, that's an interesting lens and that's an interesting composition. He tries a little too hard to make it just really picturesque and a little dreamlike. But essentially what's going on here is a Nigerian couple living in Brooklyn. And the film starts with their very, very Nigerian wedding ceremony, and it is essentially about the cultural pressures that ensue when the woman wants to conceive a child, because part of the culture is now you're married, you got to have a kid, but she can't seem to conceive. So it gets into all this weird stuff, like the mother-in-law is urging her to have an affair with the brother-in-law to conceive because it'll be the same genes, and it gets very creepy. From a cultural standpoint, interesting film. Lead performance is just absolutely breathtaking. The actress, whose name I wouldn't even try to pronounce, but it's like Denai Guerrera. That's probably the best I'm going to do. She is magnificent, and Isaac de Bancole, who we've seen in a lot of other things, namely French films, as her husband, just wonderful. So great acting, questionable direction, but nonetheless, the director is apparently on to bigger and better things. Andrew Dosunmu has been... he's locked down a couple of big projects, a couple of big historical projects. So, maybe people are seeing something that I'm not.
Well, because you're lame.
I guess so.
The Unspeakable Act by Dan Sallet is a film that could have gone bad a million different ways, but wound up being kind of interesting. It's about the 17-year-old girl who is in love with her older brother. And, in love with her older brother.
I love incest stories. I really do. Exactly. I love them. They're so touching. Incest
is best.
Yeah.
But when the brother goes to college, the girl has to, find actual real boys to meet.
Yeah.
And, she kind of starts to come into her own. So I think this film, again, could have gone bad 100 different ways, but it was well done, takes the subject seriously. It's really all about family and having to kind of break away from your family when you become your own person, but still keep your ties to family. And so I liked it. It was original and interesting. I think it was an interesting little rental if you want some daring kind of indie film action. Unspeakable Act. Next, we have a film I didn't like as much called Molly's Theory of Relativity. This is about this woman who's an astronomer, and she loses her job, and then she doesn't know what to do with her life, and on Halloween night she's visited by a bunch of dead relatives. It's sort of like It's a Wonderful Life for an astronomer.
Yeah.
And it's just it's a little... it's not dark. It's more of a dark comedy than it is dark, but it's a little too whimsical for its own good. It's a little too weird for me. It wasn't really my thing. Finally, at least on my pile, I have Last Love with the great Michael Caine and Wade Clemence Posey.
Oh, Clemence Posey.
Michael Caine, who can do no wrong, plays a professor, widower.
He can do no wrong. It's true. Even in Jaws 3D.
He is my favorite. He's like one of my favorite actors of all time. I love. How can you not love Michael Caine?
He's amazing.
Of course, Michael Caine.
Yeah.
Damn it. Anyway, he plays a widowed professor. He's living in Paris, and he figures he would just run out the clock by himself in Paris, but he meets this young lady. And they sort of, she's a dance instructor, played by Clemence Posey, and they decide that they're going to form a little family together. So it's kind of cute. It's kind of sweet, very bittersweet. Kind of liked it. Interesting. Michael Caine's always watchable. It also features Gillian Anderson. And Gillian Anderson from The X-Files has crafted this whole second phase of her career doing films overseas.
Yep.
Which is just bizarre. But she's in that too. It's not bad.
All right, finishing off the newish releases, I Am Zozo is a Ouija board horror film. Fill in the blanks. It's either a haunted house or teenagers on an outing or a Ouija board horror film. It's just, you know what's going to happen.
Well, the original Ouija board horror film was produced by the husband of a friend of mine. It was called Witchboard.
Yeah.
And Witchboard was like in the 80s.
Shh.
Really?
We have Witchboard on Blu-ray today.
Really?
Yes, we do. Believe it or not. Anyway, I Am Zozo. It's another one of those. It's like, hey, let's play with the Ouija board. Uh-oh, who's Zozo? And Zozo presents himself in
Jumanji.
You know what? Step Dogs is one of those silly
Stupid
movies.
dogs.
This should have been one of those Disney movies. The Air Bud Buddies, this Buddies, Snow Buddies. It should have been one of those movies. Basically, somebody said, hey, let's make a movie with dogs that's kind of like the Brady Bunch with dogs, like two people who get married and then the dogs are part of the same family, and then we'll make them be like the Odd Couple dogs because they hate each other, and then some burglars will break into the house, and then they get to be the Home Alone dogs. That's exactly what this is. Is it funny? I guess if you're 4. If you want to set your 4-year-old down in front of the TV.
Stupid dogs.
But otherwise, whatever.
Dogs are stupid.
Boy Band is about a bunch of guys who are not really boy band types, but one of them's a jock, one of them's a former figure skater, the other one's a stoner, And by golly, they are going to show you that they can actually be a boy band. And so they form the most embarrassing boy band you've ever seen. But it's supposed to be heartwarming. I guess if I were a 16-year-old girl, maybe I'd find it heartwarming.
That'd be more crotch-warming.
And then, lastly, this just makes me so sad. It's so troubling. Jeremy Irons is in Night Train to Lisbon, which did not get a theatrical release. This is from Lionsgate, and it's basically about a Swiss professor, played by Jeremy Irons, who goes to Lisbon to he's met a woman, and it all takes place. It tries to set itself against a historical backdrop of some Portuguese history, and it means to be this kind of grandiose historical melodrama, and unfortunately, it just doesn't work. And it's another failed English language attempt by Billy August, who is one of my favorite directors in the world when he's working in Scandinavian languages. But when Billy August does stuff like Pernilla's Sense of Snow, or the South American thing, what was the House of the Spirits?
Right.
Oh my gosh, why can't he make English language films work?
Don't know, but the good news is that Jeremy Irons just landed himself a big role.
Yes, he did.
Yes, he did.
He is the new Alfred.
Yeah, that's not bad.
I guess. I'm not sure
It can't be Michael Caine.
I'm not sure I like that.
Really?
I'm not sure I like that.
There aren't many actors who can be Alfred.
He's too patrician to be Alfred. No,
but that's good. Because he's supposed to be, Wade, you're giving me this, aren't you?
No, I'm not.
You're giving me that, aren't you?
No.
I don't like
you
I'm anymore. Wade, we got 2 must-buys from Criterion.
Yes, we do.
As they start transferring all their DVDs to Blu-ray.
Yes.
Jules Dassin's Rafifi.
Oh gosh, best opening of any movie ever.
It's not just the best opening; it's got a classic mid-film heist scene. It's pretty much...
So fantastic.
What would you say, 30 minutes or something?
Oh, it's like 20 minutes.
It's like 20 minutes, no dialogue.
It's just breathtaking.
It's a 20-minute sequence where these guys break into it's like a jewel heist. And the actual heist is 20 minutes, no dialogue. And it is absolutely riveting. It's great. It's like the ultimate heist movie. I think it's great. This is, I love Jules Dassin. He's a terrific director, done a lot of good stuff. This is probably his crowning achievement for me. Although I do love Naked City. But anyway, Rafifi is a must-buy. It's from 1955. Criterion, they did a pretty good job on the extras, although they have done better jobs in the past. Here we only have an interview with Jules Dassin from 2000 and some set design drawings. So they've done better when it comes to extras, but you know what? It looks really good. I don't know what print they used, but they cleaned it up really nice. And the best part is that the movie's great. So Rafifi from 1955, Jules Dassin, a must-buy, or will personally come through your internet cable and strangle you.
The other Criterion is Jules and Jim, the Francois Truffaut classic, of course. Jules and Jim, the kind of the original Menage a Trois movie, or the 2 guys and a girl movie. You know what? Jules and Jim is just magnificent. 1962, beautiful black and white, loaded with extras that will just make your head spin, including bits from Truffaut's first ever appearance on American television in 1977 with an interview with the New York Film Festival director Richard Rood, and excerpts from a seminar he gave at the American Film Institute in 1979. It's just extraordinary. Everything you ever wanted to know about Truffaut is on here, along with, of course, the dual format Blu-ray and DVD of the movie, 2 DVDs and 1 Blu-ray. It's just great. If you take whatever Jules and Jim version you have, and there have been a few going all the way back to Wellspring when they came out with one, and just get rid of them. This is all you should have. You can watch it in the car, you can watch it all day long, and you should. It is magnificent. And then wrapping out the foreign language stuff real quickly, the 2 chapters from the Paradise series by Ulrich Seidel, which I'm not a huge fan of. Our friend Tim is a big fan of this trilogy, Paradise Hope and Paradise Faith. It's Seidel meant to sort of make movies about real women and real people, and the idea of sort of being set upon in life. And I guess it's not like Kieslowski's Three Colors trilogy. It's not nearly that well worked out, but there's some decent drama and some interesting filmmaking in both of these. So they're from Strand. I can't fully recommend them because I don't think Seidel is that interesting of a filmmaker, but some people really love the series. And then lastly, a film that I just think is just staggeringly stupid. And I just don't know where this came from. Moon Man. Have you ever heard of the book Moon Man? Apparently it's a kid's book that a lot of people love.
I have not been a kid for many years.
Oh my gosh. It's just, this is a French film that's in English. And it's just the stupidest animated movie I think I've ever seen in my entire life. This little white guy who, and I mean white, not Caucasian. I mean he's a little white man, all white, who lives in the moon. And he comes down to Earth. And he's a little fish out of water, and it's really rough animation. And he's the dictator of the earth needs to find him because he needs to add the moon to his conquests. And of course, there are people who are helping the Moon Man out, so that the dictator doesn't win. And the most annoying part of this is that the Moon Man, the way he talks, Moon Man, his voice is the most annoying thing in the world. Whoever did his voice, I really want to strangle them. It's so irritating.
Really, the guy who did the voice was only doing the director's bidding.
So irritating.
So you should be killing the director.
So irritating. I can't even tell you. I don't even know where to begin on how irritating it is. Talk about some previous releases real quickly. Twixt came out last year, and we finally got a hold of this. And this is well worth talking about because this was not released in theaters, and then it was completely ignored in home release, and almost no one realizes that Francis Ford Coppola made another movie. One of the greatest filmmakers of all time, greatest American filmmaker certainly of the last 50 years, and he made a movie based on a dream of his, and it went nowhere. And it is a little obscure. It only has a documentary by his other daughter on this, Gia Coppola. Or there is Gia's his granddaughter, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, it's his granddaughter. So she made a documentary about the film, which is on here, and I think she has a feature coming. Didn't she just cast a feature?
Yeah, Star Wars.
Yeah, thank you. Whatever. Anyway, no, this is basically a horror film starring Val Kilmer of all people, who's surprisingly good. But it is it's all Val Kilmer is investigating a murder, and he's a writer, and he's kind of trying to put together source material for his novel, and from there it just becomes this really, really chilling panoply of images and ideas and twists and turns, and it doesn't really work as a narrative, but as a mood piece, it's really extraordinary, and presumably based on a dream. Elle Fanning is terrific in it. Bruce Dern, not as good as he is in Nebraska, but certainly very good. And I gotta say, as an addition to the body of work by Francis Ford Coppola, it is absolutely worth checking out. I thought it was a fascinating film, impossible to market on any level. So I understand the reluctance, but still, it's a Francis Coppola movie. You really should be able to market it as just Francis Coppola, the director of the frickin' Godfather and Apocalypse Now, and Peggy Sue Got Married in the Cotton Club, has a new movie. Maybe you ought to go see it.
But this is part of Coppola's late career thing, where he just wants to do these little movies,
just
they
little
go off to
interesting.
And shoot, and
that's it. Yeah.
We said that's it at the same time.
Yeah.
A movie I did not like is Berberian Sound Studio. This is a weird combination
with a terrible commentary on it, by the way.
By Wade Major?
No.
This is a weird combination of De Palma's Blowout and Cronenberg, where Toby Jones, who I like, and whose career, speaking of character actors, Toby Jones, who also played Capote.
Yeah.
Toby Jones plays this sound engineer, and he goes to work on this horror film, and he winds up getting so transfixed by the movie that he loses his grasp on reality, and it's just a little it's not a Hammer thing. I wouldn't call this a Hammer psychological thriller, would you? A Hammer type thing? I wouldn't know
not
if
so
I call
much.
it that. But it just doesn't. It's not that scary. It's a little bit silly, and I was not a big fan of this movie. So, but if you like that stuff, go for it. Berberian Sound Studio.
Yeah.
You're not going to give me that, are you?
No.
What?
No.
I don't like you.
I know. Another Criterion, starring a man who I saw in an absolutely terrible movie last night, which I can't talk about because it's getting released theatrically on Friday, and I have to talk about it, unfortunately. James Caan now makes crap movies, but he once upon a time made movies like Thief, and so did Michael Mann, and this is a dual-format Criterion release of the original Thief, which is just sensational, from 1981. This is the movie that basically launched Michael Mann as a guy to be reckoned with, and then he went on to really do a handful of movies that didn't quite measure up. But he made some good movies afterwards. You know, there's some stuff in there like Last of the Mohicans and...
The Insider? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, The Insider is the best film he ever made. But Thief really launched everything. And it is a fascinating film, one of the best performances you'll see from James Caan. And really, really well put together. Audio commentary with Michael Mann and James Caan. Interviews with both of them, as well as Johannes Schmeling from Tangerine Dream, who of course did the amazing music. That was when they were doing everything from Risky Business to the score for Legend that replaced the Jerry Goldsmith score. Mistake, but still, really, really a good set, DVD and Blu-ray, and you got to add that one because Thief is one of the great films of the '80s. And then we also have a couple of exploitation films from Scream Factory, which is the Shout Factory genre label. Both of these are relics of the 80s when you actually had Scream Queens, and one of them, Mark hinted at earlier.
And the other one has the same producer, it's the same company.
Yes.
Same. If you look at the credit bed, you'll see Jeffrey Joe Frey is the producer of both.
Correct, and the same director of both, Kevin S. Tenney. And the Witchboard we mentioned earlier, that's the original Ouija board movie. Really pretty terrible, but kind of funny by present standards. And the other one is Night of the Demons, which for some reason I just thought it was kind of scary at the time. And watching it again, I thought, what was wrong with me? It was 1988. I was an adult. I'm serious? Why did I find this scary? And I guess it was just bad makeup.
You were stoned.
No, not even close. But bad makeup just really always creeped me out. And part of it was because a friend of mine that I used to work at the theater with went into effects makeup. He sculpted the gills that Kevin Costner wears in Waterworld. And so I used to go over to their place, and they'd have just like prosthetic crap lying around, like a dismembered hand with blood and gore hanging out. It'd just be lying on the floor because they'd be, he and his roommates would be practicing all this crap that they'd be doing for these low-budget films. So I guess I developed a phobia against all this stuff. But anyway, so Night of the Demons and Witchboard are both out there from Scream Factory on Blu-ray. And if you are kind of a nostalgia junkie, I guess you'll enjoy them.
From the ridiculous to the sublime, we have Angel Share from the great Ken Loach. Ken Loach, of course, the great chronicler of... he's like the... He takes like the Guy Ritchie aesthetic.
Yes.
And makes it like... real drama.
Yes.
Like serious movie stuff's going on with Ken Loach.
He's a nice guy, too. I've interviewed him. You wouldn't expect him to be that guy. He's very
soft. He seems like a gentle kind of a guy.
He's very soft-spoken, very self-deprecating, and even though his films are very political, he doesn't really like to talk about politics.
No.
It's interesting. You'd expect him to be all kind of Oliver Stone, those guys are damn... But he doesn't. He just doesn't go there. He lets the films kind of speak loudly while he speaks softly. It's kind of refreshing.
And this is great. The Angel Share is it's a little bit comedic, but it's also a drama. It's about this guy who forms kind of a group with these other miscreants who go come in and out of jail. And it turns out that this guy has this amazing talent for whiskey tasting.
Yep.
So they try to steal this cask of very valuable whiskey. And it's fun. I mean, it's a little bit, he's definitely in a prickly mood. Like he's definitely he's having a little bit of fun. Ken Loach is not a fun director.
No.
But he's having a little bit of fun here, and it's kind of nice to see. And I think Angel Share is just terrific. I think Ken Loach is a great director. This might be a minor film in his canon, but if you want to see his last film, The Wind That Shakes the Barley, that one is very intense.
I love Wind That Shakes the Barley. I really do. That's his masterpiece as far as I'm concerned. Before we get into television, just a few more here. Sightseers, movie by Ben Wheatley, which was released earlier last year. Speaking of British filmmakers, Sightseer, Ben Wheatley is a very odd guy. His movies are very dark comedies, and I still don't know how I feel about this movie, because it's basically about this couple who they're just out, on a drive in their little kind of Winnebago deal, right? They're just out for vacationing, and bit by bit they start murdering people and become kind of addicted to it. And it's it doesn't really make sense to me on many levels. I know it's supposed to be funny, but it really creeped me out, and I think it's probably supposed to creep me out. I can only say it's maybe 3/4 of the way to Man Bites Dog, but it pushes a lot of the same buttons. And deeply disturbing. Not on Blu-ray. This is only on DVD from IFC, and it includes some interviews and a trailer, and the interviews do not illuminate in any way why they made this movie. Some other movies worth mentioning that are on Blu-ray, just real quickly, with some decent extras, actually. 2 Weeks' Notice, Hugh Grant and Sandra Bullock. Not a bad romantic comedy in hindsight. It got really ripped apart at the time. I think looking back on it, it's actually kind of charming. And now that Sandra Bullock has reinvented her career, she's everyone's hot actress again. Remember, she was kind of off the grid for a moment, and now after winning the Oscar a couple of years ago, she's it. And Gravity this year, you kidding me? So revisiting this film, it's actually kind of charming. Not bad at all. And there's commentary with branching gags by Sandra Bullock and Hugh Grant and writer-director Mark Lawrence. And then City of Angels, which it's still kind of the movie I always remembered that it was. That's got a couple of behind-the-scenes documentaries and a couple of commentaries, and it's okay. Of course, an American remake of Wim Wenders' Wings of Desire with more of a plot. Nicolas Cage and Meg Ryan. It's got kind of a romantic angle to it that the Wenders film really didn't play up very, very broadly. But some good music, and of course the Alanis Morissette song, which is great, probably the best thing about it. $1 Million Baby, the 4 Academy Awards, including Best Picture. Clint Eastwood directed.
Why did this win Best Picture?
He directed Hilary Swank to her second Oscar for Best Actress. Hilary Swank is one of the handful of actresses who's won 2 Oscars for Best Actress.
Does that seem right to you?
It's just weird to me. I mean, it's a really good movie in hindsight, but I'm like, that won Best Picture. Like, $1 Million Baby won Best Picture. It's very strange, isn't it?
It doesn't seem like it seems like there's like a gap in the space-time continuum, and somehow that one slipped in.
Anyway, it's the 10th. It's the only boxing movie other than Rocky, by the way, to win Best Picture. You realize that?
What?
I know. It's bizarre. Anyway, 10th anniversary Blu-ray release.
You mean Kangaroo Jack about the boxing kangaroo didn't win?
I'm telling you.
Best Picture.
Raging Bull did not. Anyway, a lot of extras on here. Really, really good stuff. Mostly featurette stuff, and then there's also a commentary by Albert Ruddy, who's the producer. That's very, very good. But the film holds up. I just don't know that it's Best Picture material. And
I'm gonna. You know what? I was not paying attention because you were talking, and I don't pay attention when you talk. But I'm going to find out what else was nominated that year.
Yeah, go ahead. Do that. You do that right now. And then lastly, just want to make mention on the animated front, Despicable Me 2 has been, that was released some weeks ago and has been burning up the charts, and we haven't gotten to it until now, but I will say this, I was not a fan of the first Despicable Me. I missed this film in theaters and was able to catch up with it digitally, and I actually like this one better than the first one. Everybody kind of seems to have settled into their characters, and they have fun with it, and Steve Carell really has fun with his diabolical accent. And the Minions crack me up. They are the funniest things I think I've ever seen on film, apart from the Marx Brothers. They just slay me.
Really?
And they figured out that people loved the Minions in the first one. They really ramp them up for this one, and it is really good work for the small upstart Illumination Entertainment animation house. Really good work. So this is a DVD Blu-ray combo pack. You get a lot of little mini movies on here, which is basically shorts and behind the scenes stuff, and it's good. So Steve Carell as Gru. I enjoyed it. Shocked that I enjoyed it.
Oh wait, no one cares. You ready?
Yeah.
This is what was nominated, along with $1 Million Baby.
Yes.
Not a very good year, actually. The Aviator.
Yeah.
Which we talked about earlier regarding Cate Blanchett. Finding Neverland, which I loved. Ray, whatever.
Oh, jeez.
And Sideways, which is a great film, but it doesn't really smell like an Oscar. See, it was always process of elimination. It's either The Aviator or $1 Million Baby. You can't give it a Sideways. That's not an Oscar Best Picture film.
Very true.
Ray is fine. Come on.
Yeah.
Finding Neverland is a wonderful film. I like that film a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know that was ever going to win Best Picture. So you're down to the Aviator, which is an Oscar Best Picture type of film, and $1 Million Baby, which is Clint Eastwood. I wonder if $1 Million Baby was directed by Dennis Dugan, if The Aviator would have won.
No.
It was $1 Million Baby all the way?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Aviator was never going to do it.
It was a lousy year.
This wasn't going to do it. Wow.
Johnny Depp, by the way, nominated that year.
All right. Mark, let's wrap out with a little bit of television here. I want to make mention of, from the front of the good people over at Acorn, who also run the Athena line. We got quite a number of really good stuff here. The Athena titles are, of course, educational titles, and there are some excellent ones here that I finally had a chance to get around to. I'm a big history buff. Anybody who's listened to this long enough knows before I was a film major in college, I was a history major. I still love history. And The Dark Ages, An Age of Light from Athena is just absolutely fantastic. I'm a huge medievalist. I love everything about the Middle Ages and the Dark Ages and so forth. And the guy Valdemar Janešák, who was a longtime art critic for the Sunday Times in the UK, it basically leads you on a tour of the Dark Ages, and it is wonderful. You get into all the conflict between East and West and the various arts and this and that and the other thing. It's really, really good. Secrets of Ancient Egypt, likewise, very, very impressive. Several different episodes kind of take you through the art and the culture and all the mysteries of ancient Egypt. Really, really interesting, really good. David Starkey, who does a lot of these things. David Starkey is just he's this amazing Cambridge professor. He takes you through Music and Monarchy, which is looking at British royal history through music. He's using music as like a historical guide, and it's great. You learn all about basically what music belongs to what era, which is fantastic. And of course, if you're a fan of Ab Fab, you love Joanna Lumley, and I love Joanna Lumley, and of course the new Avengers. She was on the last incarnation of the Avengers spy series, and she does Joanna Lumley's Greek Odyssey, which was shown here on PBS. And it's fantastic. She's just a wonderful tour guide of all of the beauty and the history and the culture and the art of Greece, and fantastic. Could not be better. So Greece, of course, the cradle of civilization. You realize that, don't you? We all owe Greece a huge debt.
Well, Greece is the word.
Yes, absolutely. And then lastly, from on the Acorn front, a lot of Agatha Christie stuff. Poirot, series 7, 8, 9, and 10. Starring David Suchet, or Suchet, depending on if you want to be French or English about it. All of them on Blu-ray now from Acorn. And I still find him the quintessential Poirot. All apologies owed to... By the way, they're doing Murder on the Orient Express again.
I know.
Why?
I don't know, because it's cool.
No, stop that. Don't do that. Stop it. It was done. It's been done several times, and they're all fine. We don't need another one. Good grief. Anyway, so these are all terrific. All of them now in the original UK broadcast order, which is important because you see him kind of developing the character.
Yes, you don't.
And then the complete collection of the Agatha Christie Hour, which is 10 stories that are all kind of, some better than others, obviously. They're all kind of second tier for me. I read some of these in their original text form, and, it's all right. I mean, it was aired here on television, and it did all right. And then lastly, the Queen of Crime collection, Agatha Christie's Queen of Crime collection, which is 3 Agatha Christie mysteries, Sparkling Cyanide, Why Didn't They Ask Evans, and 7 Dials Mystery. These are better, much more nicely done, and highly recommended.
Wow, Wade Major, everyone.
There you go.
All right, a couple TV Blu-rays before we wrap it out. DVDs also. We have the following. This is the Kevin Bacon Fox show. He plays a FBI agent who had captured the serial killer back in the day, put him on death row, but he's escaped, Wade. He's escaped. And now he's got these minions who will do his bidding. Kevin Bacon has to wade his way through the minions and get to the mastermind that he put in jail 9 years earlier. This show was a mild hit. It wasn't a super-duper hit. It was pretty atmospheric. It's Kevin Williamson. He's the guy who did Scream and The Vampire Diaries. So, it's okay. 15 episodes, season 1, bunch of special features. There's a season 2 of following, of course. Starts up soon. Season 7 of Burn Notice. This is the final season of the show. I don't know how this thing went 7 seasons. It's
a mystery to me.
All these USA shows are just interchangeable and all terrible. In fact, I'm not even going to talk about it. It's stupid. All right. Finally, Wade, the only thing we really care about. Now,
yes.
Wait, do you want to end on that, or do you want to end on this?
We'll end on that.
We should.
I'll make quick mention here. Treme is out now in the complete series on Blu-ray, which includes a bonus disc, and this has just a gigantic ton of music video performances on it. And there's sort of no point in going into any elaborate detail on this. If you've seen the series, you know what it is. It's whole carnival-like phantasmagoria, the whole New Orleans, mania that is injected into this constantly. It's now off the air. It's done its run, like all these HBO shows, and you can now get the whole thing in a great big fat gobsmacked Blu-ray set. And the only people who are going to want this are people who just really, really love the show. Great gift for anybody, but if you didn't love the show, you're not going to love it. And then last on my list is the Starz original The White Queen miniseries, which got ripped to pieces in the reviews. And when I finally got a look at it, you know what? I like it. Doggone it. I really like it. It takes place in the mid-15th century. And it is essentially a War of the Roses, political intrigue over who's going to actually, rule England. And knowing a little bit about that, between when the House of York and the House of Lancaster had their big battle, it was, sort of the essential British Civil War. I think this is really interesting history wrapped up in a very, very kind of cool quasi-soap opera. Very nicely done. And I think it's cool. The White Queen on Blu-ray and Ultraviolet. If you want to watch it on your iPad while you're driving, it's a great way to not have an accident.
Well, actually, it's a great way because the show is not that diverting.
That's right.
All right, Wade, we have one more thing to talk about.
Yes.
And if we don't talk about it now, the show will explode.
Mm-hmm.
Wade, there used to be a sitcom called Alice. Oh. And Alice starred Linda Lavin.
Yep. Who's a neighbor of mine, by the way,
By the way, when I came up the drive here,
yeah.
I saw a deer.
Well, good.
I did see a deer. Anyway, so there was a bunch of spin-offs of Alice. Actually, there's really only one. Well, there's Mel's Diner.
Yeah.
That was a spin-off of Alice, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't Mel's Diner?
I thought, was there?
There was a Mel's. No.
I can't remember.
Look that up, Wade.
I'll look it up.
Make yourself useful.
Yeah.
But the one that we love the most is Flo. This thing was in the early 80s, actually 1980 to 1981. It's all about Flo, the sassy, gum-chomping waitress who would tell all the customers to kiss my grits.
Mm-hmm.
She wound up with her own spin-off. And this show was...
Well, Alice was based on the Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, the 1974 Scorsese film.
Yeah, the Scorsese, which is like that Alice and the Scorsese Alice, two different types of Alices.
I know.
It's almost like the Ron Howard Parenthood and the Parenthood now on NBC. Two different types.
No, Flo was the only spin-off.
Really?
Yep.
What there was? Look up Mel's Diner.
Okay.
I could have sworn there was a show called Mel's Diner.
I thought there was a spin-off with her son, but maybe I was wrong about
Steve?
that. Yeah, no,
Mel? Jimmy?
what's
Jack?
his name?
John?
The
George?
kid, the brother,
Mel?
his sister
John?
was on
Star Wars?
Stop it.
I don't know.
No.
Anyway, Flo was
Philip McKeon, Nancy McKeon's brother.
Oh, really?
Remember, she was on Different Strokes, or no, Facts of Life. She was on Facts of Life. Nancy McKeon. Remember, she was Jo, the tough girl,
Terrible.
the one we all loved growing up.
Anyway,
you didn't watch Facts of Life, did you?
I know I did actually. I did. Anyway, the whole idea of this conversation is that Flo sucked, and there was only 29 episodes, and they're all on this DVD. A couple good guest stars though: Forrest Tucker from F Troop, James Cromwell, who's done a lot of work. Robert Englund, who played Chucky, one of those horror guys, and he played Chucky.
No.
Okay. And Vic Tayback, who played Mel in a show that I thought was called Mel's Diner, but I guess there's no show called Mel's Diner.
No. But Vic Tayback also. Let's not forget. Piece of the action. Fizbin.
Yeah,
that's right.
The best.
Yeah.
Anyway, Flo, the complete series is now on DVD. Please avoid it.
Absolutely. All right, that wraps it out. We will be back next week with more fun and frolic. Is that a good out? Is that an outro? Fun and frolic.
Fun and frolic await.